Morena, ko Roanne Sutherland Tukawingoa. You've seen me before at this on Wednesday with Becky. We presented on the New Zealand perspectives. I'm just going to look a little about the conservation perspectives of managing myrtle rust in Aotearoa. So in New Zealand, we've got 38 Myrtaceae taxa, in which 28 are formally described across 6 genera. 11 of them are endemic species. They've got the natural host range that is entirely within the climatic suitability of myrtle rust, and they are at the greatest risk of possible extinction. Myrtaceae is an important forest family, as it is the only plant family in New Zealand that consists of climbers, shrubs, and emergent trees. All of these species are culturally important. There are obviously other threats to the Myrtaceae: habitat loss, browsing by introduced animals, climate change, and other novel pests and pathogens that arrive at our border. We've also got some taxonomy changes that are coming to the Manuka species, and after recent research, and there's potentially going to be 4 Manuka species, and the Kanuka species are also being looked at as well. So with our Myrtaceae species, there's lots of unknowns. Little is known about the biology of our native Myrtaceae species, including associated taxa. One report identified that there are at least 109 associated species across 52 families that have an association with the 2 Lophomerta species, Ramarama and Rohutu. And this includes invertebrates, vertebrates, vascular plants, non-vascular plants, which is our mosses and liverworts, lichens and fungi. Myrtaceae species in our native forests have a range of ecological roles. Some are important pioneer species, like Manuka and Kanuka, while others are ecosystem engineers, like Mairi Tāwaki. But however, little is known about their full ecological value. So what are some of the impacts that we're seeing so far in our native forests? There are 83 confirmed myrtle rust locations on public conservation lands across the country, from Puketi Forest in the far north of the North Island to the top of the South Island. We're starting to see tree death and localised extinctions, and this has occurred on the East Cape after 3 years of repeated infection. We've also got localised and functional extinctions that are occurring for some species, like Mairi Tāwaki. And there's reduced fecundity for our Lophomerta species. From the arrival of myrtle rust in 2017 to 2021, there were very few reports of myrtle rust on mature Pohutukawa trees. There's been increased reports since the summer of 2021-22 with Pohutukawa infection on epicormic growth, leaves and flower structures. This past summer of 22-23 has seen the wettest summer ever recorded for Northland, Bay of Plenty, Auckland and Hawke's Bay. And there's also been increased reports of infection and severity on Pohutukawa. And for the first time, tip dieback has been recorded. It is unknown whether it's been the climatic conditions, pathogen change, spore load, or a combination of all 3 that has increased the infection level on Pohutukawa. So we know that there's no cure for myrtle rust, so what do we need to do? We need to conserve the genetic material. The purpose of seed banking is to provide long-term insurance in case of national and local extinction of species. During the incursion response in 2017, DOC undertook 566 seed collections from 49 sub-regions across New Zealand. As you can see the map on the left, it's coloured. In the green, this is for Lophomerta spallata, where collections were made and not made. So in the light green, collections were made and completed. In the purple, the light purple, collections were inadequate. And the dark purple, no seeds were collected at all. So the seeds were then taken to the New Zealand Indigenous Flora Seed Bank, where they were clean, prepared, and they now still stay there. Mairi Tāwaki, Syzygium mairi, cannot Seed cannot be stored using the conventional methods as it's sensitive to drying, so it's going to need to be stored by cryopreservation. Seed collections were not completed for all of our species, and at present there is no active national germplasm collection program. Moving forward, it's going to be really important to understand species distribution and genetic variation within populations, as this will help to inform our seed collection program. So some of the things that are really important to do, and as Jeff spoke on this earlier as well, is the importance of monitoring and surveillance. Surveillance and monitoring are important tools that can provide baseline data on species population, status, and trends. It informs on disease incidence and severity, which can then support management actions. It helps improve our understanding of long-term impacts of myrtle rust on host species and ecosystems, and can provide measurable indicators of myrtle rust impacts on life stages of hosts and recruitment. However, there is no nationally coordinated surveillance and monitoring in New Zealand. So over this last summer, DOC has set up long-term monitoring plots to measure the impacts of myrtle rust on susceptible hosts in native forest. This is a pilot trial at 8 sites, and at each site we've got 1 to 3 plots of our target host species. We've got 8 target host species that were chosen for their known susceptibility to myrtle rust. They were ramarama, rohutu, mairi tāwaki, pōhurikawa, and 4 climbing rata. Other mutaceae at the sites is also recorded. The monitoring protocol has been adapted from the DOC Tier 1 vegetation plots using 20 by 20 plots, and we've also used the disease severity scoring from the New Zealand myrtle rust monitoring form. We've got 2 more plots, hopefully, that will get set up before the end of the season, and so that will give us 10 sites overall. And like I've said before, Syzygium mairi is of particular concern due to its susceptibility, difficulty in storing germplasm, habitat loss, and it's mainly confined within the climatic suitability range of myrtle rust. So some of the other challenges that we face, as Albie spoke yesterday about New Zealand's oldest pōhurikawa tree on the East Cape and the cultural significance of this tree to mana whenua. There are other individual trees that hold great importance and value to local mana whenua across Aotearoa that have also been recorded with myrtle rust infection. And this includes the last remaining pōhurikawa tree on the Manganui sandbar that predates European arrival, and the pōhurikawa trees on Rangitoto Island, which is the largest pōhurikawa forest in New Zealand. It's going to be important to protect these trees for future generations. So we face many challenges in trying to protect our species. Given that there's no cure for myrtle rust, it's an airborne pathogen which is hard to control and manage. We've got over 8 million hectares of Indigenous forests across New Zealand. And there are over 300 plant species in New Zealand, which include 27 endemic myrtaceae that are classified as threatened. And the threat status does not necessarily mean that it comes with funds available for the protection. There are no large landscape control tools for the management of myrtle rust in native forest. Strategic science was funded over operational science and management tools. We've got funding limitations, like as it's been mentioned in Australia as well. And after the response, we lack a national coordination. And there are other abiotic and biotic stresses to these plants. So what has DOC been doing? So we've funded some initiatives. So the Jobs for Nature was established to stimulate the economy post-COVID-19 through nature-based employment, and it funded 193 projects, and 2 are specific to myrtle rust. And Heidi briefly touched on this yesterday with the Jobs for Resistance, which is a Scion-led project with a duration of 3 years, finishing next year. The project has partnered with Rotorua Trust 15 to provide jobs and build capacity and capability of mana whenua to develop and implement myrtle rust surveillance and monitoring in the Bay of Plenty to establish a resistance breeding program. The second program is a community-based program for surveillance, and it's based on the East Cape of New Zealand, where they've seen localised extinctions of ramarama. So what else have we been trying to do? We've been trying to engage with our community, mana whenua groups, and also our DOC staff to educate and encourage them to keep an eye out for myrtle rust and to report it when they do. Over the past 2 years, the plant pathogens team that I'm a part of has provided training for over 300 DOC staff and 250 externals in the identification of host plants, the pathogen, and also how to ID it. We've created resources for these groups that are in English and Te Ao Māori. They include pamphlets, posters and signs that these community groups, mana whenua and DOC, are able to use. We've also developed some best practice guides for cleaning for myrtle rust at home and while you're in the field. So what are some of the takeaways? And no, it's not fish and chips or KFC. It's that this is a hard space to work in. There is a need for a nationally led approach to managing myrtle rust. We need long-term, secure funding for the management and operational science. Monitoring and surveillance are critical to understand the impacts of myrtle rust is having on our species, associated taxa, and our ecosystems. And Māori Tāwaki could be New Zealand's most at-risk species of local and national extinction. Kia ora. West coast of the South Island. Not at this stage. We'd focused on the most susceptible species that we knew of that had that we'd seen infection in the wild. So down that west coast, you've really got the southern rata, and we've only seen infection in the nurseries. So while it is of concern, it wasn't one of the top priority species. With limited funding, we could only do so much, and we had to prioritise species and locations. Yeah, and we've got Neomyrtus in the Bay of Plenty as well. Yeah. Thanks, Stuart.
One down front, Madge.
It's just gone off.
Sorry, Madge, could you restate?
Sorry. Is the monitoring going to continue?
Just sort of flickers on and off, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. It all relies on funding and the government of the day and how that progresses. But at the moment, we're hopeful. We're hopeful that it can be a long-term monitoring plots and that we can extend it to other regions and other species. But yeah, it's definitely reliant on funding, and we have no idea even what our budget is for this year yet.